Okay, hello everyone. I thought I would do an installation video after being inspired by Silent Robot's video that he did. I thought it would be good for me and myself to also do an installation video. Now what I'm going to do today, I'm running live from a USB right now. This is a live system. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to install this onto a USB. Now the installation procedure will be exactly the same as installing onto a hard disk, but I'll be installing it onto a USB. And you can actually do this and have you a portable version of Miyo-Modern. Take it around with you and use it how you want. But what we're going to do, let me open up Gparted. Let me explain why I'm doing this on a USB. Now I've had a portable version of Miyo for a couple of years that I've been using, and it has worked great. I've been updating it. You update it just like you would on a regular computer, and it's just been working great. Now this is my hard disk. SDA2, that's my main system. This is my FreeBSD system. This one is my Crow's Linux from my good friend Zephyr. The next four, these are all like a build partition and a test partition. Build partition, test partition. Like I might build the 32 versions on this, test it on that one, build the 64-bit on this, test it on that one. This partition is, I believe, Star Linux, and this one is also from the developer of Star Linux, a DIY, a do-it-yourself. So I don't have a partition that I'm willing to sacrifice right now for this, so that's why I'm going to use a USB. Now keep in mind the installation is exactly the same as installing to a hard disk. Let me look at, here's my live USB that I'm running from. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to close this out, open up my file manager, and that's the video I'm making right now. I'm going to insert the USB. Now I have already formatted the USB, but I'm going to insert it now. No, I don't want to open it in the file manager. Alright, here's the USB I just inserted. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to right click on it and unmount it. It has to be unmounted for me to be able to install onto it. Excuse me. Okay. Now let me show you. I should have just left. Let me open up Gparted again so I can show you how I formatted that USB. I think I'm coming down with a bit of a cold or something. Plus I needed to open Gparted anyway because I wanted to make sure what my USB was designated as. SDA, that's my hard drive. SDB, that's the live USB I'm running from right now. And here is the USB that I'll be installing on. Now Silent Robot, he did a great video of an installation, and he added a home partition and a separate boot partition. Now whenever I install, I only use a swap partition and one main partition. That's all I do. Actually, when I install to the USB, the one that I've been using for a couple of years, I just have one large partition and just use a swap file, and the installer allows you to do that. It's not obvious in the installer, but it's easy to do. It takes care of it for you, and when we get to that point of the installation, I'll point that out to you and explain. Okay? So I'm on SDD, that's the partition, that's what I want to install to. SDD1 is my swap, SDD2 is my root partition. Okay? So let's open up the installer and we'll get going. Alright, the first screen you're greeted with, what method do you use to become administrator or root? Now you have a couple of options. If you choose to use su, you'll have to enter the password, which is Miyo, M-I-Y-O. If you use sudo, you don't have to enter the password. Okay? Same installation, you get the same thing. It's just different methods used to start the installer. So we're going to use sudo. No password required. Very important, do not close this terminal during any point of the installation process. You can minimize it, but do not close it, okay? Alright, just some basic information here, and we'll continue. Alright, now here is a point where it might confuse some people. Always read what's on the top of the window. If you don't understand an option, you probably don't need it. So that's just some good advice there. If you're confused by all this, then just keep the stuff that's there, unless you want a home partition and possibly a boot partition. Now like I said, I just use one swap partition and one main root partition. I don't use a separate home, I don't use a separate boot. I just go with the defaults here. Now if you know what you're doing and you want to use some of these other options, you can put a check mark in the box next to it and it'll take care of it, okay? But we're just going to go with the default options here. Alright, I've already partitioned my USB, and I'll probably say this several times through the video. This is just like installing it onto your hard drive. So don't let that confuse you that I'm going to install to a USB. The only difference is the partition designations. Alright? So I'm going to skip this step. I don't need to open gparted. Alright, where do I want to install the Grub bootloader? Since I'm putting it on this USB, I'm going to put it on the MBR, the master boot record. And it would be the same if you were installing it onto a computer and this was the only operating system you were going to have on that computer. You'd want to put it to the MBR. Now if you're dual booting or triple booting or multiple booting and you want whatever system is controlling your Grub right now, you want it to continue to control Grub, then you'll want to put the Grub on the partition that's going to contain your root partition. And then after that, after you finish the installation, you'll boot into your main system and run update Grub. However, this is going to be the only operating system on the USB on our disk, so I'm going to choose MBR. And now I have to choose a location to install the bootloader. And we know that that was SDD. We looked at it in our gparted. SDD. Now here are all the different partitions that are available on this computer. including the USB that I'm installing on. That's this one right here, SDD. Okay? We know that SDD1 is my swap partition. SDD2 is my root partition. So I want to put my system on the root partition, SDD2. Okay. What type file system would I like? ext4. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and close this window. I don't need it. Alright, here's the swap where you choose your swap partition. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you don't have to have, if you've got like 8 terabytes of RAM and you don't need a swap partition, you can just choose a swap file. And this is what I do, or this is what I did on my USB install that I've been using. All you need to do, instead of clicking on one to choose it, don't click on one and just click OK. When you click OK without choosing a partition, it'll open another small window telling you that a swap file will be created, and you'll click OK on that little window and the installation will proceed on. However, for this installation, since it's supposed to mimic a hardware installation, we're going to choose our swap partition, which was SDD1. Okay. Alright, here's the summary of what's about to happen. It tells you everything that you've chosen, what it's going to do, and if you're not comfortable with it, if you fear you're going to mess your computer up for some reason, or you fear you may have made a mistake, you can hit exit and no changes will be made onto your computer. And then you can start the installer all over again, or just exit it and forget about it. But we're going to proceed with the installation. Alright. Now we're going to configure our TZ data. We're going to choose our geographic area. Mine is US. You can choose all the main geographic areas and hit forward. Going to choose our time zone. Mine is Eastern. Forward. And now we choose our locale. Now I want to point something out to you. Miyo-Modern, all MiyoLinux systems are built using the English US locale. If you're installing into a different locale, you can either leave this checked and then choose your other locale, or remove this. Remove that check mark and just choose your one locale that you want to use. Alright, that's already checked for me. That's what I want, so I'm going to go forward. If you have left English US as a locale but chosen another one that you want to use as default, you need to click on this and choose the one you want to use as the default. Okay? And then click forward. Alright, now we're going to choose our keyboard layout. I'm going to leave this as the generic 105. Forward. Alright, now here is another area that may possibly confuse some people. Let's say you're installing in a different locale and you want that locale's keyboard layout. When you click on this, you're just going to see these US layouts listed. So what you need to do is come down here to the bottom and choose Other. Okay, then hit Forward, and then you have all the different keyboard layouts. Okay, you can go through here and find your keyboard layout, click on it, and then click Forward. I'm going to use English US, of course. Click Forward, then I'm going to find it, Forward, and I just leave all of these like they are. Click Forward. Okay, now here it's saying it contains an ext4 file system last mounted on such and such date. Do you want to proceed anyway? Yes. So enter Y, then hit Enter. And let me point out, if you did choose to use a separate home partition and possibly a separate boot partition, you would have to do that same step right there for each one of those partitions. Just type in the Y and hit Enter on your computer for each one. Alright, this is about to start installing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video while this installs, and I'll come back and pick back up when we get to the part where we enter our usernames and passwords. Okay? Okay, we're back. The installation is finished. Now it's just time to enter our host name, our username. Now here the host name is listed, already filled in as MiyoLinux. You can leave that or make that whatever you want it to be. New username, we're going to change that. All lowercase letters in that one right there, okay? All lowercase. Now here you can use uppercase if you want to. Now here are some options you need to be aware of. First option, permit sudo for new user. This is the one I always choose. This first option will add you, the user, to the sudoers list and keep the root account. So you have the option on your system to use sudo and also have the root account. Now if you choose the second option, use sudo as default for new users, you'll be added to the sudoers list. However, the root account will be disabled. Okay? Third option, use sudo only for shutdown. You're added for shutdown privileges using sudo, and the root account is also kept intact. However, I always just use this first one. That works great for me. Don't have to enter a password to shut the computer down. That's the one I go with. Okay. You should reset the root password. If you put a check mark here, it's going to use the current password, which is Miyo, M-I-Y-O. We don't want that. Well, you might want it. Live on the edge, you know. Hey, but we're gonna use our own password. Have to enter it twice and then hit OK. And now we'll enter our user password. Same thing. You can use the current password, which is Miyo, M-I-Y-O, but we don't want to do that unless we just want to be crazy. So we're going to enter our own user password, and again we have to enter it twice and hit OK. And the installation is complete. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop this video and I will boot back into my system on the USB just to show that it did work, and I will see you back in just a moment, okay? Okay, we are now back. We are running from the USB that I installed the system on, and just to show that that is what happened, let's open up Gparted again. Enter our password. Didn't have to do that in a live session, but now that it's installed, we do have to enter our password. Now the designation should be changed now that I'm running just from that one USB. If you remember, it was SDD. There's my hard drive, and now we're running on SDB. That's my USB that I installed on. As you see, we have the lock. These partitions are locked. That's the one that we're running on. And I'll look back at my hard drive just so you can see that it's not locked on any of those partitions. Okay, so we are running from our USB, our portable version of Miyo-Modern. And just remember, though I installed this to a USB, the installation is exactly the same as if installing onto a hard drive. However, you now have an option. I don't know if you've even thought about putting this on a USB for a portable version. If you want to do that, get you a good USB, a good quality one, and you can run updates. You can do updates just like you would on a regular hard drive and keep your system up to date. And you can see, oh dear, I've already used 2.5 gigabytes on this USB. So get you a good USB. You might could get by with, depending on what you're going to do, you could get by with an 8 gigabyte USB, depending on what all you're going to install. I use a 32 gigabyte. So that's a basic installation procedure for Miyo-Modern and any MiyoLinux system. I hope that was helpful. Have fun. Thanks for watching.